Hai, selamat pagi bersama saya Nadirah di AWANI Pagi, dan kami di Astro AWANI sentiasa mengangkat penggiat seni sama ada dalam bidang teater, filem ataupun penulis. Tapi hari ini kita nak cakap tentang fotografi, satu industri yang mungkin tak ramai lagi ceburi ataupun semakin ramai sekarang ni dengan adanya telefon bimbit, semua boleh jadi jurugambar. Dan hari ini saya nak cakap tentang satu inisiatif baru iaitu KL20X20, di mana satu inisiatif atau platform bagi semua jurugambar berada di Malaysia boleh hantarkan gambar-gambar anda yang berceritakan tentang Kuala Lumpur untuk dipaparkan di beberapa kafe dan juga galeri di sekitar bandar ini. Dan saya bersama Nadirah Zakariya, salah seorang jurugambar antara yang tersohor di Malaysia untuk menceritakan tentang inisiatif baru ini. Dan untuk itu izinkan saya teruskan temu bual ini dalam bahasa Inggeris. Thank you Nadirah for joining me. Now tell me a little bit more about this KL20X20 initiative that's also partnered with an existing platform, KL-GA. So what's the difference? Tell me all about it.
All right, good morning Naila. Thank you for having me. So KL-GA is in partnering with Tokyo-GA. So let me tell you a bit of Tokyo-GA. Tokyo-GA is an initiative to bring photographers from all around the world to document Tokyo as a city through the years. I am one of the photographers, a part of Tokyo-GA. So KL-GA is a partnering initiative where we want to call photographers based in Malaysia to document everything about Kuala Lumpur. So from that, we are organizing our first ever mini festival, KL20X20, to celebrate our love for photography and our love for Kuala Lumpur.
Right, and just as the title suggests as well, KL20X20 is inviting 20 photographers, selected photographers based in or around KL, to each produce 20 photos as well, to sort of resemble what Kuala Lumpur means to them. So can you talk a little bit about the theme that is set for KL20X20?
Okay. Correct. So KL20X20 is for photographers that's based in Malaysia, not just in Kuala Lumpur, but the photography that they have to produce has to be about Kuala Lumpur. So we want to talk about, in terms of Kuala Lumpur, who are we now, who have we been, and where are we headed? So there's so many stories that are not just snapshots. You know, we always see the snapshots of KLCC in the sunrise or the sunset, and I think those are beautiful, but for this we want to go deeper. We want to think about the communities, the people, the cultures. There's just so many stories to be told, and we want to convey this through photography. So we're looking for 20 great photography stories. Right now we're doing a call for submission, and the submission where we're not really looking for completed projects yet, but we're looking for photography series proposal. So if you have any ideas that you want to work on for a photography series, submit it to us. There's still time, but we'll talk more about that later.
Right, and talking about the theme, it's an especially very exciting time for Kuala Lumpur and Malaysia as a whole. It's 2020.
Yes.
You know, we're meant to sort of achieve our vision, Wawasan 2020. So, you know, what are you expecting? What are you looking at? Because talking about this vision 2020, we're talking about skyscrapers, flying cars and whatnot.
Yes.
But that may be different. You know, everyone's vision for 2020 for Kuala Lumpur is different for everyone. So what are you looking at? What are the sort of criteria?
Okay, so definitely 2020 is a big year for all of us, for the whole of Malaysia. Like, you know, I grew up from the era of, you know, like you said, thinking of flying cars, we're in the future. But I think we kind of like want to understand where we are in this year, but we want to convey it through photography. So what we're looking for is essentially strong stories, things that are unheard of. So for me as a viewer, as a photographer, and as a co-organizer, what I'm looking for is stories that will kind of make me go, wow, that's in my city. I want to discover something that I didn't know before. And hopefully for the people that come to the festival, we kind of learn more about the city that we live in. I think it's about sharing stories, yeah.
And so coming onto this creative scene, it's probably a bit intimidating for some newcomers, you know. So who are the kind of photographers that you're looking at selecting? You know, established photographers, newcomers, or is it, you know, a collaboration of both?
Definitely collaboration of both. But the thing that is most important to us is no matter if you are an established photographer or if you're starting out or if you're not even a photographer, we're looking for fresh ideas. because I feel that now photography is so accessible. A lot of people can create like beautiful images from the phone even, not just from fancy cameras. And I think what differentiates a strong photo and just a normal everyday one is the story, the essence of it. So it's open to everybody, not just to photographers.
And what will the selected photographers be expecting? You know, we're in this hotel, Citizen M,
Yes.
which is selected as one of the locations where the selected photographs will be exhibited at. And there are a few other locations as well.
Yes.
So talk me through the process, what happens once they're selected.
Okay, so now, like you said, we are at Citizen M, and they have agreed to be one of our partnering location, meaning that we will have some photographs here, we'll be holding some photography workshops and talks here as a hub. What we are also looking for different hotels, cafes, spaces all around Kuala Lumpur to be our location partners. So for the photographers that are selected, they are given time between middle of February to June or July to create the story that they have proposed. After that, we will go through a selection process of a curating process to go through their photographs and see which are suitable to be exhibited throughout Kuala Lumpur. So we're not just gonna exhibit them in one location, but hopefully in different locations, in even little cafes or kedai-kedai runcit. So people will be able to appreciate and see photography even walking through Kuala Lumpur.
And who will be selecting these photographs? Who are the judges?
So the ones that are going to be selecting the photographs are myself and the founder, Stephen Lee.
And personally, what kind of photographs? Maybe for those who are interested in joining this competition, you know, what are some sort of tips that they can look out for?
Okay.
What catches your eye specifically?
Okay, like I mentioned earlier, yes, we definitely want a good story, but definitely a good story has to be paired with a good sense of composition, a good sense of color. But what really is important to me is to do something original, to do something where you feel, hey, this is created by me. We want to look at originality. We don't want to see photos that we've seen before. So I think one good way is to look through photography books, to look through how other photographers have approached photographing their cities or different cities. I think from there you can sort of learn and understand the kind of visual language that can be done, especially for the newer photographers who aren't sure of their voice yet.
And I think I also need to learn, you know, what exactly catches your eye, you know, to sort of an expert eye might be able to detect or see a lot more than what the average Joe or the average me can see. So I want to learn a bit more about what does the technicality part of it mean, you know, the composition and whatnot. So I want to know if it's, you know, if photography is an art for everyone, or is it, you know, sort of just, you know, a very limited sort of space, a creative space. But we want to talk a bit more about that. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on AWANI Pagi. You're back with me on AWANI Pagi, and I'm speaking to Nadirah about KL20X20, a brand new initiative to bring together established as well as new up-and-coming photographers on the scene to sort of exhibit their photographs about KL. And this process is still ongoing.
Yes.
You know, you still have a chance to submit your works to KL20X20, and we want to talk about how exactly does one appreciate photography, because, you know, what sort of appeals to your eye might not come out as obvious to me and the average Joe. So what exactly is it about a photograph that catches your eye? And, you know, talking specifically about KL20X20, you know, is it open for everyone? You know, we want to make sure that sort of, you know, this creative space is being more and more accessible to a lot of people, right? And especially with mobile photography, now more and more people have access to that. So is it also open to mobile photographers?
100%. To answer your last question, it's open to mobile photographers, it's open to analog photographers, it's even open to filmmakers. So if you have a video project with audio, we welcome it as well. So to talk about that, It's actually open to everybody. As long as you have a working camera, maybe a phone or anything, and you have an idea to tell, then yes, try to submit.
And you also will be expecting 20 photographs
Yes.
from each
Yes.
sort of participant. So will they all need to be thematic?
Yes. So the main theme that we have is Kuala Lumpur. But to me, if you ask me, that is such a broad topic. So it's, what is Kuala Lumpur to you? What do you want to explore in Kuala Lumpur? Like, so if you're submitting, maybe if you have no idea, just take a LRT or an MRT and walk around the streets and feel inspired and be open to it. There's still time. The deadline is February 15th for submissions. So yeah, just be open to what the city has to offer.
Now, we want to go back to your own experience
Yes.
as a photographer. You know, looking back, this is a brand new initiative, perhaps
Yes.
something that's not been done before, or very few has been held before. So, you know, looking back at your own experience, do you wish you had a platform like this, and what do you hope from this platform for, you know, up and coming photographers? Is it something that you wish you once had as well?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's really good now because there's so many young up and coming photographers. The camera and the phone is so much more accessible, and I think we live in an age where we see so many photographs day in, day out, even just through Instagram. I discover so many new photographers who are non-photographers, but they're able to take great pictures just through Instagram. So I think I didn't have that when I was growing up, so I think we live in a really good time. And what I hope to achieve is for people to have more, to learn more about Kuala Lumpur through the visual medium. So that's why we want to make the galleries more accessible. We want to use cafes, we want to use hotels, we want to use shops, places where people can walk to and look at these photography, and to discover new photographers out there. So that's why we're doing a call for entry from everybody, as long as you're based in Malaysia, and you don't necessarily have to be a photographer.
And you're also taking these photographs and photographers to an international level, because
Yes.
at the same time, there's also another exhibition going on.
Correct.
Right? So tell me a bit more about that.
Okay, so KL20X20 is happening during the same time as KLPA. KLPA is Kuala Lumpur International Photo Awards. That's happening from 12th September to October 18th at Gallery Ilham. KLPA is open to international photographers, including Malaysian. Malaysians can submit and join every year. There's a theme, and I believe they just launched the theme a few days ago. You can check out on all the social media platforms to find out and how to submit. So I think it'll be a good time for local photographers to join KL20X20 because it'll be happening the same time during KLPA. KLPA will have photographers from all around the world coming in, all for the love of photography.
So why is it that you have this sort of separate exhibition, you know, or initiative KL20X20 when you already have KLPA? So what could be sort of the differentiating point between these two?
So KLPA mainly focuses on portraiture photography and is open to everybody all around the world. KL20X20 is just focusing on Kuala Lumpur and for local, not local photographers, Malaysian-based photographers. So we wanted to do something specific to Kuala Lumpur and to celebrate the photographers that we have here, based in Malaysia. So, but both are, for me personally, it's for the love of photography, and I think it's great to have it at the same time.
And so it's very interesting that we're talking about, you know, the increasing access for young photographers. But, you know, I think the main problem now faced by a lot of, or maybe it's always been a problem, is this issue of worth, you know, how to sort of value their work. And this is a great platform to sort of gain exposure.
Yes.
But, you know, exposure is a sort of a sensitive word among creatives in the creative scene right now, because, you know, a lot of their artworks, or like, you know, it's not just photographers, but anyone in the creative scene, they're having difficulty sort of measuring their worth, what with sort of not just employers, but how the industry measures their worth and sort of pays them through exposure and not necessarily with money, because at the end of the day, you need to pay your bills.
Of course.
So how do you look at this issue?
Okay, so my favorite type of exposure is correct exposure on my camera. I know that sounds cheesy, but okay, I've had my share of doing things for credits or exposure, but I think the younger or up-and-coming photographers, they have to sort of sift through and see, is it really worth it for their own portfolio? A, and also B, you have to know when to stop, and you have to understand when. You have to understand your worth, like you were saying. Like for me, I pick and chose which ones that was worth it for exposure, and understood how I can leverage from that so I can get more paying gigs later on. But I think another good way is for the young and upcoming photographers or creatives is to talk to mentors or other people who are established in the creatives and kind of see how to navigate through this whole issue. But by the end of the day, yes, please pay the creatives. Like, it's not, taking a photograph may sound simple, but it's really not. It comes from experience, it comes from technical knowledge, and also ideas. Creative ideas. It's something that shouldn't be for free.
Yeah, and talking about, you know, asking creatives or asking even just anyone in the industry about, you know, what your artwork, what your work is worth, it also reflects back to our society where we don't share information about our own salaries. You know, we don't share that with each other because that's seen as taboo or should be kept secret. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. You know, I also want to delve deep into how some people may view photography and other artwork as well as a hobby. So where do you sort of draw the line between, you know, what's hobby and what should be made into a career? Because that's, I think, an important question that's being faced by a lot of the young creatives who want to come on to the industry. But we have to take a short break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Hi, you're back with me on AWANI Pagi, and I'm speaking to Nadirah about KL20X20, a brand new initiative to bring together photographers around Malaysia to really sort of encapsulate what Kuala Lumpur means to them through 20 photographs in a series. And so we're sort of already talking about the whole photography and creative scene where, you know, it's hard for artists and creatives to sort of measure their worth, what the value of their work is, simply because they're often being paid through exposure. And so that's already an issue that we're talking about. But, you know, it's also an issue of our culture not sharing our sort of pay with each other. That's, you know, seen as a taboo. And, you know, how do you see this affecting, you know, not just in how you're managing to pay your bills, but also to the industry as a whole, and to sort of, you know, the supply and demand of the creative scene? How do you look at it?
I think when I was starting out, I also had not issues lah, but I wasn't sure how much to charge myself. So one tip that I can give to those starting out is to ask your peers, like, hey, how much do you charge for this? How much do you charge from that? And then just try to gauge on where you fit. But I think that you shouldn't be shy to share how much you're making or how much you're charging, because if the more information that we have, the more we can grow together. I think one thing that's tricky is you might be the cause of messing up the market. You know, if you charge too little, then in the future you might be in trouble because of that, because then people would continue want to charge, pay you less. So I think you have to think bigger, ask around. I know for sure me and my peers, we always welcome students who are just starting out to ask us questions. You can ask me personally on my social media or send me an email. We'd be more than happy to help.
And so talking about that, how important is it to have that support system, that network in the creative industry?
I think it's really, really important. I think it's the only way to grow. Like, I think if you only stick in your own mind and your own bubble, it's hard to kind of like see where you are with the rest, with your competition. I think it's a healthy competition. I recently have been working a lot with people in video, people in filmmaking, and that have helped my self-growth a lot. So I would say for younger creatives, to not only stick in within your community, reach out and collaborate with different creatives. I think it'll only do good for the whole society in general.
And so talking about KL20X20, it's also inviting a lot of amateurs, a lot of up-and-coming photographers and people who might not even label themselves as photographers. Anyone really with a phone, with a simple camera can join, because you're sort of opening up that access to everyone. And so for those who are sort of still developing this young interest in photography, how do they draw the line between what's a hobby and making it into a career? What was it for you? Like, was it always a hobby for you, and how did you make that leap?
Okay, so for me, I've always loved arts in general, ever since I was young. And then growing up, of course, like I was introduced to cameras and then the processes behind it, and that made me fall in love. But what differentiates to me between a hobby and a profession is, if you're making money out of it, of your services, then it becomes a career or a profession. If you're doing it on the side for the love of it, then it's a hobby. But with me, it's a bit tricky because it's kind of both, because I love what I do. Even hobbyists, come join. It's for everybody, this KL20X20.
You know, when you say you love what you do, it sort of brings me back to this quote that people say, you know, if you love what you do, you never have to work a single day.
Yes.
Do you think that's true? Because sometimes, you know, I love what I do, but sometimes work is work,
Yes.
right? So how do you draw that line? You know, sometimes work just does feel like work.
Yeah, I mean, I think working is always not easy. You're working with different people, you're working with different clients, but I feel that in any industry or in whatever that you do, of course it's stressful working with different people. But for me, I'm grateful that I get to turn my passion into my career, and understanding that not every day is going to be great and I'm not going to please everybody, but I love every single moment of it.
And so talking about, you know, how you make your passion into work, is that sort of, you know, in this current state of economy, I think a lot of people are a bit more scared of taking that leap into the creative industry, not knowing whether it can pay bills. But what would be your advice to sort of young creatives out there to take that leap of faith?
I think a good thing is to meet different professionals and maybe ask, hey, can I shadow you for a day and really understand what goes on? Because I think what people don't realize, that although, you know, it may sound fun and glamorous doing what we do, it's a lot of hard work. Thinking about the new ideas all the time, and then especially in this industry, everything is needed now. I wouldn't say it's for everybody. So I think if you're just starting out, intern, assist those who you admire. When I was a student, one of the things that I did in between classes is go look at all the magazines and contact all the agencies, photographers, and for every 100 emails that I sent out, I'd get back 10. And this is the time for you to learn and to grow and to see if it's for you. And in doing that, like talking about earlier, I was working more in the film industry. So when I was a student, I would intern on music video sets just to get out of the photography world and to see. And from there, I learned a lot. And a lot of things that I learned 10 years ago, I was able to apply now into my work life.
And you say there's that challenge of constantly finding ideas. Everything is now. So like writers, they face this sort of writer's block. But with photographers and any other creative, I imagine, there is that block as well. How do you get past that?
Oh, it's so frustrating, right? I'm sure you can relate. Watch movies, read books, go out, meet people. Just remind yourself that it's not the end of the world. And sometimes your brain needs to rest, and it's okay. And just maybe dream, like literally sleep, and then like allow yourself to dream. But yeah, talk to people. Inspirations are everywhere.
Right, so we're coming to the end of our show, and I think you have a message out there for all those who want to join KL20X20. So how do they go about doing that?
Okay, so if you want to know more information, go to kl-ga.org to learn more about KL20X20. There's still time to submit. We're looking for strong stories, so just try your luck. Submission closes February 15th. And for those of you who are not quite confident yet, during the mini festival, we'll be hosting a lot of photography talks, photography workshops, so keep an eye out on that. You can check out our Instagram or our Facebook through the website kl-ga.org. And lastly, we are still looking for sponsorships and partnerships in terms of venues or local collaborators. So contact us through the website and let's discuss.
Thank you so much, Nadirah, for sharing not only about KL20X20, a very important initiative and platform for young creatives and photographers out there, but also sharing a little bit more insight about how you guys out there can join this industry that is not just for the selected few, but is increasingly becoming more and more accessible for everyone out there. So that's all that I'm sharing today on AWANI Pagi with me, Naila Huda. Thanks for watching. See you again.